What's up, Gain and Grow family? Let me ask you something that might sting a little bit. Are you still making the same muscle gains you made in your first few months of training? Because if you're like most people watching this video, the answer is probably no. And that's not just frustrating, it's actually costing you years of potential progress. But here's the thing. What if I told you there are 5 scientifically backed strategies that could literally accelerate your muscle building by months or even years? I'm talking about methods that most people completely ignore, strategies that could be the difference between spinning your wheels for another year versus finally breaking through that plateau and seeing the kind of gains that make people ask what you're taking. Today we're diving deep into 5 game-changing tips that will transform how fast you pack on muscle mass. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we drop evidence-based content like this every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next on this channel. Let's start with something that's going to completely change how you think about your workouts. Most people walk into the gym thinking that lifting heavier weight automatically equals more muscle growth. But here's what the research actually shows us, and this might surprise you. Training volume, which is your total number of sets multiplied by your reps, is actually the primary driver of muscle growth, not just how much weight you can lift. This means you might need to check your ego at the door and actually use lighter weights than you think. Studies show that for optimal muscle growth, you should be working in the range of 50 to 75% of your 1 rep max. That might feel light at first, but here's the magic. You're going to perform each exercise for 3 to 6 sets of 10 to 20 repetitions. This creates the perfect storm for muscle growth. Why does this work so well? When you increase your training volume in this specific rep range, you're creating more time under tension, more metabolic stress, and more opportunities for your muscle fibers to experience the stimulus they need to grow. It's not about ego lifting, it's about smart lifting. Here's how to implement this immediately. Pick 3 exercises from your current routine, and instead of going heavy for 5 or 6 reps, drop the weight by 20 to 30% and aim for 15 to 18 reps per set. Do this for 3 weeks, and I guarantee you'll feel a difference in how your muscles respond. Now let's talk about something that most people completely ignore but could double your results. It's called the eccentric phase, and it might be the most underutilized muscle building tool in your entire arsenal. Every time you lift a weight, there are 2 phases. The concentric phase when you're lifting the weight up, and the eccentric phase when you're lowering it down. Here's what blew my mind when I first learned this. The eccentric phase is actually far superior at triggering muscle growth than the concentric phase. Think about it like this. When you're doing a bicep curl, most people focus all their attention on curling the weight up, but they let gravity do all the work on the way down. That's literally throwing away half of your muscle building potential. Research published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology showed that eccentric focused training produces significantly more muscle growth than traditional training. Why? Because during the eccentric phase, your muscle fibers are being stretched under load, which creates microscopic damage that your body repairs with bigger, stronger muscle tissue. Here's how to harness this power immediately. For every single rep you do, count to 3 as you lower the weight. Whether it's a bench press, squat, or curl, that slow, controlled negative is where the real magic happens. You can also add eccentric-only sets at the end of your workout. Lower the weight slowly, then have a training partner help you lift it back up, and repeat. But be careful with this technique. Because eccentric training is so effective at creating muscle damage, you'll be significantly more sore than usual. Start slowly and build up your tolerance over time. The third strategy is going to challenge everything you think you know about rest periods. I see people in the gym all the time scrolling through their phones for 3, 4, even 5 minutes between sets. If that's you, you're sabotaging your gains. For muscle growth, your rest periods should be between 30 to 90 seconds. I know that sounds short, but here's why it works so well. Shorter rest periods create a massive release of muscle-building hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. Plus, they ensure that your muscles become truly fatigued, which research shows is absolutely critical for muscle growth. When you rest too long between sets, your muscles fully recover, your hormone response diminishes, and you're essentially starting fresh with each set instead of building cumulative fatigue. But when you keep those rest periods tight, you create an environment where your muscles have no choice but to adapt and grow. Here's a practical tip that will change your workouts immediately. Set a timer on your phone for 60 seconds between each set. When that timer goes off, you start your next set no matter what. Yes, you'll feel the burn. Yes, it will be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is exactly what triggers the muscle building process. The only exception to this rule is for your big compound movements like squats and deadlifts, where you might need 90 seconds to 2 minutes for safety reasons. But for isolation exercises and smaller muscle groups, stick to that 60-second rule religiously. Now let's talk about nutrition, because you can have the perfect workout program, but if your nutrition isn't dialed in, you're going to be disappointed with your results. The fourth strategy focuses on something that most people get completely wrong: protein timing and amounts. Here's what the research tells us about optimal protein intake for muscle growth. You need to consume between 0.25 to 0.3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight at each meal. For most people, that works out to about 20 to 24 grams of protein every single time you eat. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just about total daily protein intake, it's about spreading that protein evenly throughout the day. Your muscles are constantly breaking down and rebuilding, which means they need a steady supply of amino acids to work with. You can get your 20 to 24 grams from 3 to 4 whole eggs, a cup of Greek yogurt, a scoop of quality protein powder, or a palm-sized portion of chicken or fish. The key is consistency. Every meal, every snack should have a significant protein component. There's also something called the leucine threshold that you need to understand. Leucine is an amino acid that acts like a switch for muscle protein synthesis. You need about 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to flip that switch. Foods like eggs, dairy, and complete protein powders are excellent sources. But here's a game changer that most people miss. Having some casein protein before bed can literally help you build muscle while you sleep. Casein digests slowly, providing your muscles with amino acids for up to 7 hours. A cup of cottage cheese, some Greek yogurt, or a casein protein shake before bed could be the difference between waking up the same size or slightly bigger. The fifth and final strategy might be the most important of all, and it has nothing to do with what you do in the gym. Sleep is where the magic actually happens. Your muscles don't grow during your workout, they grow during recovery, and the vast majority of that recovery happens while you're sleeping. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which is one of the most powerful muscle-building hormones in your system. It also keeps cortisol levels in check, and cortisol is a stress hormone that can actually break down muscle tissue if it gets too high. Here's a statistic that should terrify anyone serious about building muscle. Sleeping only 5 hours per night instead of 8 hours can reduce your testosterone levels by 10 to 15% in just 1 week. That's like voluntarily handicapping your muscle building potential. The National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for adults. And I'm telling you, this isn't negotiable if you want optimal results. Your muscles repair and grow during those deep sleep cycles. And if you're shortchanging yourself on sleep, you're shortchanging your gains. Here's how to optimize your sleep for muscle growth. Keep your bedroom cool, around 65 to 68 degrees. Make it as dark as possible. Blackout curtains are worth the investment. Put away all screens at least an hour before bed. The blue light interferes with melatonin production. And try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day to regulate your circadian rhythm. If you're struggling with sleep quality, consider some natural sleep aids like magnesium glycinate or melatonin, but always consult with a healthcare provider first. Now here's something most fitness channels won't tell you. These strategies work, but they work best when they're part of a complete system. Each tip I've shared today builds on the others. The increased training volume creates the stimulus, the eccentric focus amplifies that stimulus, the shorter rest periods create the hormonal environment, the protein feeds the process, and the sleep is where it all comes together. But here's the thing about implementing change. Don't try to do everything at once. Pick one strategy, master it for 2 weeks, then add the next one. Sustainable progress always beats perfect intentions that you can't stick to. If you found value in this video, I want you to do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells YouTube that this content is helping people, and it helps us reach more people who need to hear this information. And if you're serious about taking your physique to the next level, make sure you subscribe to the Gain and Grow channel because we're just getting started. In next week's video, we're going to dive deep into the biggest nutrition mistakes that are sabotaging your muscle growth, including some so-called healthy foods that are actually working against you. You won't want to miss that one. Remember, building muscle isn't about perfection, it's about consistency and applying proven strategies day after day. You now have 5 powerful tools that can accelerate your progress significantly. The only question is, are you going to use them? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue building the best version of yourself, 1 rep at a time.